Okay, so I want you to just imagine the room for a second. It's January 2026. We are in Cairo.
Hmm.
The air conditioning is probably humming. The mood is, well, it's undeniably tense. And around this table, you have representatives from all these different Palestinian factions.
These are groups that have spent years, sometimes decades, arguing over strategy, ideology.
Right, exactly. But today, the doors are closed, the cameras are mostly off, and the topic isn't some high-level philosophy. It's survival.
It is the absolute definition of a high-stakes environment. And usually when these meetings happen, you get a really vague press release afterwards, something like, we had constructive talks.
Right. But what we have here today is, it's different.
Vastly different.
Yeah, we got our hands on the transcript of the official statement that came out right after this meeting. And honestly, when I first read it, my eyes kind of glazed over. It's so dense. It's full of committees and councils and, all the diplomatic language.
But it's not just a statement, is it?
No, that's what you told me. You said to look closer. And when I did, I realized this is basically, it's a slide deck for a new government.
That is exactly the right way to think about it. It's a presentation for a new reality. And our mission today is to do an audio walkthrough of those slides. We're going to sort of project this document onto the wall for you and go through it bullet point by bullet point.
Because buried in all this bureaucratic language is a massive shift in how the Gaza Strip and, arguably the entire Palestinian political landscape is going to function.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's click to the first slide, the context. We're looking at a document that sets the stage for the second phase of a ceasefire. But the first thing that jumped out at me wasn't the ceasefire. It was the framework they're using. I had to reread this line like 3 times.
You're talking about the reference to the Trump plan.
Yes. Explicitly. The text says they are meeting to complete the stages of the ceasefire agreement in the Gaza Strip, according to President Trump's plan. Hold on. I mean, given the history there, isn't that surprising? To see these factions explicitly signing on to a U.S.-branded framework.
It is surprising if you're looking at it through the lens of, say, political rhetoric from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But look at the date. It's 2026. The situation on the ground has totally changed the calculus.
Okay.
By explicitly naming President Trump's plan, these factions are doing something very, very pragmatic. They aren't saying they love the branding. They're saying this is the only game in town. It signals a move away from ideological posturing and toward just operational reality.
So it's a strategic pivot. It's like, we'll use whatever paperwork gets the job done.
Exactly. It's about legitimacy. If you say, we demand a ceasefire based on our own internal wish list, nobody listens. But if you say we are implementing phase 2 of the Trump plan, suddenly the phone lines in Washington and Cairo and Jerusalem, they open up.
Speaking of Cairo, the document starts with some very heavy thank yous.
Uh-huh.
I know it's diplomatic protocol.
Uh-huh.
But the specific list of names here feels like a map of the region's power brokers.
It is a map. The first slide of any diplomatic presentation is always who's backing this. The text leads with a huge thank you to President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi of Egypt.
It makes sense. They are in Cairo, after all.
Right. But then look at the brotherly mediators list. It's a specific triad: Egypt, Qatar, and Turkey.
Is that combination significant? I feel like we always hear those names thrown around in this context.
It's very significant that they're listed together as a unified bloc here. Egypt is the physical gateway, right? They control the border. Qatar is often the banker and the communicative link.
Mm-hmm.
And Turkey brings a different kind of political weight, NATO membership. By listing them as the official mediators, the Palestinian factions are essentially locking in their board of directors. They're saying, this is our team.
Okay, so we have the Team Egypt, Qatar, Turkey, and we have the rulebook, the Trump plan. Now let's click to the next slide, because this is where the rubber meets the road. This is the organizational chart.
The big reveal.
And this is where I got a little confused, so I need you to walk me through this.
Yeah.
The document announces the formation of a Palestinian National Transitional Committee.
This is the headline news. If you take nothing else away from this deep dive today, remember this: the Transitional Committee.
But what does transitional actually mean here? Is this a government? Is it a city council? What is it?
Well, the word transitional is doing a ton of heavy lifting. It tells us 2 things. One, it's temporary. This is not a declaration of a permanent state or a final government. It's a bridge.
A bridge. Okay.
And 2, its mandate is functional, not political. The text says their job is to manage the Gaza Strip.
Manage. Not rule, not govern, manage.
Precisely. It's the difference between a prime minister and a city manager. A prime minister gives speeches about national destiny. A city manager just makes sure the garbage trucks run. The text explicitly says they need to provide a suitable climate to take over tasks immediately.
Immediately. That implies there's a vacuum right now.
A total vacuum. And the text follows that up with a phrase that I found just incredibly striking. It says the committee's job is to run the affairs of life.
Affairs of life. I circled that too. It sounds, I don't know, it sounds almost poetic, doesn't it?
It does sound poetic, but let's strip that away for a second. In a zone that has been through what Gaza has, affairs of life is a euphemism for survival.
Just the basics.
The absolute basics. Is there water in the pipes? Is the sewage system backing up? Is there bread in the bakeries? When they say manage the affairs of life, they are admitting that the basic machinery of existence has just broken down, and this committee's sole job is to restart the engine.
So if we're looking at our imaginary slide deck, this slide shows a group of like technocrats, engineers, administrators trying to fix the power grid. But, and here's the but that made me pause, they aren't the only box on this org chart.
No, they are not.
The document mentions another body, the Peace Council. And apparently the Peace Council has an international executive committee.
Correct. And this is where the bureaucracy gets really interesting and potentially very messy.
Okay, explain this hierarchy to me. You have the Transitional Committee, which is Palestinian.
Yes.
And then you have this Peace Council. What is their relationship? Is the Peace Council the boss, the bank, the auditor?
Based on the text, the Peace Council acts as the international oversight body. The document says the Peace Council's job is to supervise the acceptance and implementation of reconstruction operations.
Supervise the acceptance. That sounds like code for we control the money.
That is exactly what it means. Reconstruction costs billions. The international community, the donors, the World Bank, they aren't just going to wire that money into some generic account. They want oversight. The Peace Council and its International Executive Committee, they are the ones holding the purse strings.
So let's just play this out. Say I'm on the local transitional committee. I need to fix a hospital wing. I can't just go buy the cement.
Probably not. You likely have to submit a proposal to the International Executive Committee of the Peace Council. They review it, they make sure it aligns with the Trump plan stages, check the security protocols, and then they release the funds.
Wow, that sounds incredibly slow. I mean, bureaucracy is annoying when you're trying to renovate your kitchen.
Yeah.
But when you're trying to rebuild a decimated city, isn't that just a recipe for friction?
It's a massive potential bottleneck. You have the affairs of life, people who are desperate for speed, and you have the reconstruction oversight, people who are obsessed with compliance. The friction between that local committee and the International Council is going to be the central drama of this next phase.
It's like a corporate merger where the local branch knows what needs to be done, but headquarters has to approve every single expense report.
That is a great analogy. And remember, the text says the Transitional Committee works in cooperation with the Peace Council. Cooperation is a very, very diplomatic word for what will likely be a constant negotiation.
Okay, so we have the structure. We have the Transitional Committee handling survival, the Peace Council holding the checkbook. But none of this works if the war is still going on. You can't file paperwork in a combat zone.
No, you cannot. Which brings us to the demands slide. The factions aren't just setting up committees, they're making a direct appeal to pressure Israel.
And they're very specific. There are 4 demands. I won't read them, but I want you to tell me why they're in this specific order.
Go for it.
Okay, demand number 1, stop the aggression against the Palestinian people.
That's the prerequisite, the stop button. You can't have a committee meeting if there are airstrikes. That has to be line 1.
Okay, demand number 2, open the crossings.
And note, this comes before bring in aid. Why? Because opening the crossings is a policy decision. It's about unlocking the gates. You have to open the door before you can bring anything through it.
Which leads to number 3, bring in necessary aid to all parts of the sector.
The emphasis on all parts is critical. It implies that right now, aid might be getting to one area but not another. They're demanding comprehensive access, no-go zones for food and medicine.
And finally, number 4, withdrawal of the Israeli army.
And it's interesting that withdrawal is 4th, right?
I thought that would be first.
Ideally for them it would be, but pragmatically, you can stop the shooting and open the gates while troops are still present or repositioning. Withdrawal is the final step that solidifies the whole thing. By putting it 4th, they might be acknowledging the phased nature of that Trump plan they signed up for.
So, stop, open, feed, leave. That's the sequence.
That's the sequence. And the goal of this, according to the text, is something they call early recovery.
I saw that term. Early recovery. It sounds medical.
It is, actually. Think of a patient after a massive car accident. They're in the ER. Early recovery isn't about getting them back to running marathons. It's about stopping the bleeding, stitching the wounds, and getting them stable enough to leave the ICU.
And reconstruction would be the physical therapy that comes months later.
Exactly. The text distinguishes between early recovery, clearing rubble, fixing a main water pipe, and full reconstruction, which is building new towers. They are acknowledging that the patient Gaza is currently in the ER. The Transitional Committee is the trauma team.
That puts it in perspective. We are not talking about building a new city tomorrow. We're talking about getting out of the ICU.
Right. And for that to happen, they need what the text calls a suitable climate.
Okay, so I want to zoom out. We've been staring at the Gaza slide of this presentation. But about halfway through, the font kind of changes, metaphorically. The scope widens. They stop talking about water pipes and start talking about the national vision.
This is critical. You cannot understand this document if you only look at Gaza. The whole point of the meeting in Cairo was about unifying the Palestinian national vision.
The text mentions the unity of the Palestinian political system and independent national decision-making. But why bring this up now? If the house is on fire in Gaza, why are we talking about political unity in the West Bank?
Because legitimacy is a package deal. The factions know that if they only manage Gaza as a separate entity, they risk permanently fracturing the Palestinian territories. They risk creating two separate little states.
So they have to link them.
They have to. The document explicitly lists threats they are defending against, plans for annexing the West Bank, settlement expansion, and violations in Jerusalem.
Those are very specific hotspots.
They are. By including Jerusalem and the West Bank in a document about a Gaza ceasefire, they are sending a signal to the world and to their own people. The signal is, we haven't forgotten the big picture.
They're saying the Transitional Committee is just a step.
It's just a step towards the ultimate goal, which they mention at the very end, an independent Palestinian state.
It's like they're trying to thread a very, very tiny needle.
Yeah.
They have to accept the Trump plan to get the aid in, but they also have to maintain their nationalist credentials by talking about Jerusalem.
It's a balancing act, 100%. They are balancing the immediate humanitarian nightmare with the long-term political dream. This document is their attempt to do both at the same time.
So let's recap this whole presentation. We have a meeting in Cairo, mediated by the Triad, Egypt, Qatar, Turkey. They agree to use the Trump plan. They set up a local transitional committee to manage the affairs of life, the ER trauma team, and this team has to report to an international peace council that holds all the money. And the immediate to-do list is stop shooting, open the doors, feed everyone, and get the army out.
That's the summary. It's a move from, vague talk of resistance to very concrete governance.
But here's the thing that keeps nagging at me. We can read the slides. The org chart looks clean on paper. You have your boxes, your arrows. But do you see it actually working?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Because I'm just imagining the first day, the Transitional Committee walks into their office, if it's even standing, and tries to order a truckload of piping. And then the Peace Council says, wait, we need to audit that request. And meanwhile, some rogue group fires a rocket. The friction points are just everywhere.
You're absolutely right. The document gives us the machine. It's a beautifully designed machine on paper, but it doesn't give us the fuel. And the fuel is trust. The fuel is political will.
And trust is in very short supply.
It's basically non-existent. The real test of this document won't be in a conference room in Cairo. It'll be at a border crossing when that first truck of aid arrives. Who signs for it? The committee, the UN, the Peace Council. If they spend 3 days arguing over signatures while food rots, the early recovery fails.
It really all comes down to that interaction, the local managers and the international supervisors.
It does. And bureaucracy can be a form of peace. It's better to argue over permits than to fight over territory. But it can also be a stranglehold. This document sets up a very heavy bureaucracy, and we just have to wait and see if it's too heavy to move.
Bureaucracy as a form of peace. That's a fascinating way to put it. We're trading tanks for forms in triplicate.
In a way, yes. And for the people on the ground just trying to survive the affairs of life, you have to hope that trade comes soon enough.
Well, we will be watching to see if this slide deck actually becomes a reality. It's a dense, complex roadmap, but at least now we know what the signs say. Thank you for helping me decode all this.
My pleasure. The devil is always in the details.
And thank you to everyone listening. We hope this deep dive gave you a clearer picture of what's being discussed behind those closed doors. We'll see you on the next one.